Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming online and meeting with us this evening. I think we've got a good gang here, which is great. There's people joining as we speak, I think. So it's good to see everyone. You might have seen me when you were doing your interview. Maybe you're booked in to do your interview. But my name is Kathryn and I'm the Deputy Programme Leader for the BSc Veterinary Nursing degree at Middlesex. So a massive welcome to everyone for coming along and we hope you find it helpful. We might just do some introductions. I'll let Jess go first and just explain her role and maybe a little bit about her vet nursing career. If you want to go ahead, Jess.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm the Student Engagement Officer for the college. I am a registered veterinary nurse qualified in 2012. I love pretty much our profession very much, and I love anaesthesia and exotic nursing, but mostly student engagement and the student voice. So I'll hand back to Kathryn. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. So yes, I'm as I said, Deputy Programme Leader for the Vet Nursing degree course. I am a veterinary nurse. I have my postgrad in veterinary business. And all of us who work on the team have either been in practice or we're veterinary nurses or we're vets. So we all have a lot of experience in practice and things like that. So if there is any questions in with regards to work experience or anything like that, you can certainly ask us. But we'll go through a little bit about I suppose, about the course in general, the entry points, what happens with kind of the process of what goes on and what we look for, and give you a bit of info about the course in general as well. So we shouldn't take too long, but we'll go through the slides and we'll see how we get on. And if there's any questions, please come and pop them in the chat as well. And we'll answer them at the very end because I might cover it, I suppose, in the content that we go through now. So just a little bit about our veterinary nursing course in general. So I suppose we have revalidated our course to give you a general overview. We've revalidated, which means that we have moved from a 3-year degree into a 4-year degree. So we've had to develop a whole new curriculum, and there was a couple of different reasons why we did this, but I suppose the overall aim of the program remains the same, and that's to equip you all with I suppose, to be eligible at the very end of it, to be able to register with the Royal Veterinary College of Surgeons, so to be RVNs basically at the end of it. We want you all to be employed as RVNs and to be eligible to be registered as a companion animal suitably qualified person, which is a CSQP qualification. So not all degrees, I suppose, have this incorporated into their curriculum, but we do. So it means that you're getting an extra qualification when you do come out at the end of your 4 years. Sometimes employers, when you go in to work in practice, they might pay for you to do a vet skill qualification as a CSQP. We have incorporated it into our course. So it means basically that you can prescribe certain drugs when you do go in and work in a practice. So it's an extra course that we add on. We also want you, I suppose, to be safe, competent, and reflective graduate veterinary nurses. So we want you to be able to critically think, to reflect on practice, and to bring that into your training as a veterinary nurse. When you do qualify as a veterinary nurse, you will have to continually professionally develop. So it's CPD that you need to do on a yearly basis. And this is to make sure that your training remains up to date and that you're keeping up to what's going on in the industry in certain areas of veterinary nursing. We want you to be competent and, I suppose, provide holistic veterinary care to animals. We want you to foster analytical, problem solving, and reflective approaches while utilizing the evidence base. So, this is where we bring in kind of evidence and how we use that within practice and how we can be reflective practitioners. So, to be able to look back maybe and look at our nursing techniques and to kind of continually develop them throughout the years as we work as a veterinary nurse. We want you to obviously, develop decision making and team working skills, and you'll be doing that in the classroom, but also when you go out into the practice to get your work experience done. We want to encourage you to engage with lifelong learning and develop transferable skills. So we all have skills already that we have before we ever go into, university or studying to be a veterinary nurse. Things like teamwork and communication, for example, but we want you to develop that as you go throughout your degree. And then lastly, to inspire graduates to enhance the veterinary nursing profession through areas such as research, education, leadership, interprofessional collaboration. So we really want to foster I suppose, the concept of pushing our nurses to do further research, to get in and kind of progress after they do the degree, and maybe, look into other areas or courses you're interested in. Think about other careers that you could get into, not just in practice, but all of us are now in academics, for example. So we've got into the education route. You could lead a team, you could practice manage. There's lots of different routes that you can go into when you do qualify as an RVN. So we want to foster that with you and kind of, I suppose, make you aware that there's other things out there as well. So those are kind of the overall aims of the program in general. We deliver, and I suppose a lot of you in your interview, or if you're coming for interview, will be aware that we deliver jointly with Middlesex University and the College of Animal Welfare. So we collaborate between us and we deliver the degree program at Hendon, at Huntington, and at Leeds. So some of you will have applied for your certain campus. So it's quite important, I suppose, when you are applying for campuses to make sure that you try and get to an open day. You try and visit the campus and walk around, and so you know what to expect. I always tell students in the interviews, you're going to be spending 4 years doing a degree. You want to go to a campus that you're happy with, that you walk around and you see what's there. You get to meet the tutors. You get to see what the setup will be like when you do go into university. All the tutors are really welcoming. They all love seeing new students come in and walk around. And, we're really lucky that our students who are currently studying on the degree come and help us with that. And they welcome new students and can answer questions for them as well. So they're the campuses that we deliver at. These are some of the kind of clinical skill labs photos that we have taken, and they're routinely across the 3 campuses that we deliver from. This is what the setup will be like. So just to give you an idea, I suppose, of what clinical skills look like, what the setup will be maybe in your lab, or you setting up for surgeries, or you practicing your subcut injections, things like that. So it's a hands-on approach, and our facilities that we do have are lovely and modern. So coming into our entry requirements, and I suppose a lot of you guys will already kind of know what you need if you're studying currently, or maybe you're mature students coming back into education, but there's a couple of different entry requirements that we need you to have. So 112 and 128 between those points for your UCAS points, including your 5 GCSEs, grade C4 in English, maths, science, and 2 other subjects or the equivalent. Your A levels, you need BBC, BBB, including a C in science. If you're coming in and an access to higher education diploma, so an overall pass must include 45 credits at level 3, of which all 45 must be a merit or higher. Some of you, I know a lot of people do the BTEC level 3 in animal management or the extended diploma. That's a distinction merit, or a distinction merit in a related subject. And then a combination, if you're doing a combination of an A level, BTEC, or other accepted qualifications, that total 112 to 128 UCAS tariff points, including 32 points in a science subject. So you probably would have already got guidance maybe from counsellors at school. But I suppose when you've applied, you'll go through that in your interview as well, about what qualifications you already have and what you can use to get onto the degree. But those are the basics that we require anyway when you're coming on board. A little bit about the application process, and I suppose some of you will have already gone through this already, but I suppose it's a fairly self-explanatory process in the fact of it's your application that you'll apply first off for the course in general, your work experience, and what we require now is 2 weeks of work experience in any animal related industry. So we used to require 4 weeks of work experience in a veterinary practice, but some students were finding it difficult because they were under 18 and practices weren't taking students on if they were under 18. So we decided to make it a little bit more, I suppose, easier for students to come on board. So we've made it that it's a 2 week work experience in any animal related industry. So I've interviewed a couple of students who have maybe got a week done in practice and they're trying to look for more work, or maybe they have some experience working in a stables. We're very open to whatever experience that you can get. If you have time between now and June, July time, it would be good to get experience done if you haven't got it done already. So I would be telling people to call into the practice themselves, bring in your CV with you, ask them there if they're, if they have any hours going. Some of these practices will be 24 hours, so they might have hours for you over the weekends. If you can't get into practice, then it would be, your pet shops, doggy daycare, grooming, city farms, stables, anywhere that you're going to be basically providing some husbandry to animals and that you're getting the experience with handling animals or observing. As veterinary nurses, I would always say practice is kind of like the best that you can get. So if you can get into any practice, I think that would really benefit you, not only from the point of view of getting onto the degree, but I suppose from the point of view seeing how a practice runs, looking at surgeries, seeing what the vets do, shadowing the nurses and seeing how they manage patients and how they deal with customers. That's all really important, like basic experience that you could get that would really provide you with, a beneficial view of kind of what to expect when you go into practice. And then at least when you do go in and do your work experience as part of the degree, you will be able to kind of know a little bit about what to expect and kind of what happens when it comes to surgery maybe, or, dealing with customers behind the counter, or helping a veterinary nurse hold a dog, for instance. So trying to get into a practice would be really beneficial. But if you can't, then any other animal related work experience we accept. You will need to get a reference from wherever you get your work experience from. So a work experience reference from your 2 weeks. If you have a couple of different places done and you need a couple of different references, that's absolutely fine as well. Normally they'll give it to you on a letter, like a headed paper letter saying that you've done so many hours, and they'll sign it for you. And then that way you can give it to us. So the method of giving it to us is when you have your interview, you will get an email after that interview there'll be a link within it, and that is a link where you can upload documents to. So just keep an eye out for any communication coming from Middlesex. And there'll be a link in it that you can upload your paperwork, and you have up until around July time to get that paperwork sent in. So there'll be time, if you're doing A levels and you have exams and you're quite busy, there'll be time for you to be able to get that done and upload it. So your interview will happen then, and that's usually with either myself or Claire. So Claire is the program leader of the degree. So it'll be one of us that will probably be interviewing you. The process is quite casual. We'll come on, we'll have a chat, we'll go through a couple of questions, we'll have a look at your application, and then you have time to ask us any questions on the degree, or the course, or the campus, or the career in general. And then usually an offer will be sent out to you, and that's that offer is basically waiting for you to send in your references and also to get any results from exams to come through. So once all your exam results come through, then the offer gets sent out as a permanent offer. And then that's when you can make communication about maybe your accommodation, or if you need to talk about finance or anything like that, that would be the time then that you can have a discussion about that. So it's fairly easy, self-explanatory. There's lots of opportunity to ask questions. The admissions team are very helpful with answering questions, or they'll refer you on to us. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity to ask questions when it comes to the kind of application process. So just a little bit about the program in general. It's a 4-year program, but it's a 5-year program if you're doing the foundation year. So some of students have applied for the foundation year and the degree at the same time. The foundation year is there, I suppose, to provide you with a basis of your animal care, veterinary nursing, developing your academic kind of work when it comes to university and preparing to get onto the degree. The foundation year is only delivered at Huntington. So there's no placement involved in the foundation year. It's purely delivered from Huntington. You'll be in the classroom and you'll be doing some lab work and practicals as well. Your 4-year degree, then you will move into after the foundation year, or if people have directly just applied for the degree, it'll be your 4 years full time. That 4 years is made up of 4 modules per year. So your equating that to 120 credits per year. And it's a really nice timetable. It's 3 days a week on campus. You will have some online study to do aside from that, but it's very manageable. I think the hours currently are 10 until 4 is the first year timetable, 10 in the morning until 4 in the evening. So it's very manageable, 3 days a week. It's a nice work-life balance. When you do go into practice to get your work experience done during the course, you'll obviously be working the practice rota. So what hours they give you as a student veterinary nurse, you'll be working those hours. Um, when the work experience that we incorporate into the degree, and I have explained this to people who have come for the interview, by the end of your 4 year degree, you're going to have 1,983 hours done. That's a requirement by the RCVS. In order to register as a veterinary nurse, you need to have those hours done. So we spread them out, it's 52 weeks, I suppose, minimum that you'll be doing in practice. And the way we do them on our course is that we do it in blocks. So over the 4 years, you'll be doing placement blocks made up of around 12 weeks. So you'll be in for the first couple of months in first year in the classroom, getting used to how everything works, making friends, meeting your tutors. And then in the new year, kind of moving towards springtime, you'll be going out into practice and you'll be working 12 weeks in practice. We provide the practice placement for you. And what I mean by that is we go and look for the placement for you. So depending on where you're living, we have a placement team specifically there to be able to help students get into practice. They'll make the connection for you. You'll go in and introduce yourself and you'll begin your work placement there. We always, I suppose, reiterate to students that it is important, I suppose, that we're thinking about our future careers. So you might be in first year, and once you graduate, you might say, that placement that I went on first year, I loved. I think I'm actually going to apply for a job there. So automatically you're networking for future roles as you go throughout the 4 years of doing these work placements. Some students will stay within the same placement for the 4 years because they get on really well there. Some students like to move around. So in your first year block, you might have, 3 months in one veterinary practice. And when you go into your second year block, you might decide, actually, I want to get into something that might be a little bit more relaxed, or I might want to see more emergency critical care or more surgery, or I'd love to see exotics. We can try and facilitate that by seeing what's around and what's available. But the placement team usually try and find placements close to where you're living. So it means it's easier on you as well, that you're not commuting long hours, every day. So that's about the placement. So it's just important that it's going to be throughout the 4 years. And it means also that it's a really good benefit for you as a student that you're getting hands-on experience straight away. You're not waiting until your third or fourth year to go out into practice. You're going straight away, that you're getting hands-on experience. You're learning about practice. You're getting used to handling animals that might be difficult or hard to handle. You're getting used to seeing their behaviors and what's normal and what's not normal. So you're getting to use what you're learning in theory straight away in the practice when you're in first year, which is really important. And obviously you're building up to that 1,980 hours all the time. By the end of it, you'll have those hours done. So it's calculated out for you. So it makes it quite easy for you to meet that target. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, I suppose, of kind of the delivery of how we do it. This is just an example of kind of how it's laid out at the moment. So you'll have your body systems 1, which is a module that we study in first year with your fundamentals of working in a veterinary environment. So that's in semester 1, which would be your 2 by 30 credits. So that's your 60 credits done. And then in semester 2, you're going into a practical module and you're going into another module called professional development, which is a little bit about legislation and law. And then your placement then is what you move into then after you finish those 2 semesters. You'll do a block and placement. Then you'll move into your second year and you're doing a practical module and a body systems 3. Then in semester 2, you're into placement 2. So you're another placement block is then in that section. And then coming to the end of year 2, you're going into professional development and another body systems module. You'll then move into year 3, you're back into placement again. Then you're studying body systems 4 and 5, and you're going into semester 3, looking at professional development and another practical module. Then you're moving into year 4. So your final year, you're back into placement again. And then you're moving into professional development 4 and applied emergency and critical care. And then your last module is your CSQP, which we spoke about earlier on, and another practical module, and then you're graduating. Obviously, in between these, there's assessments, OSCEs, practical exams, etc. But just to give you an idea, I suppose, of where the placement falls within all those modules and how it's laid out. So you'll see that it's intermittently linked throughout each year that you're doing a placement block. So it makes it very manageable. That's just to give you an idea of first year and what it looks like. So body systems 1 is where we look at kind of your basic body systems. In our old program, it used to be called anatomy and physiology, but in this one, we're calling it body systems 1, where we look at some of our body systems and how they run, how they operate, what their function is, what their structures are. And then you're looking at the fundamentals of working in a veterinary environment. So this is your basics of teamwork, communication, your health and safety. Then you're moving into your practical 1, which is your kind of introduction into practical, how a practical exam room, getting used to practicals in the lab, and then professional development 1, and then moving into your placement. So our current first years will be going out into placement now soon. So they're coming to the end of their semester 2, and then they'll be into placement then. So I explained a little bit about this already. So a minimum of 1,983 hours done over 52 or plus weeks. We usually leave some weeks either side of when these dates are due in. So it gives students, I suppose, a little bit of leniency, or they have the option of working additional placement if they need to make up hours for any reason. As it says here, you may need to make up more than this example, making up absences or bank holidays that you need to make up your hours. And there's a range of placements available. We've had students who really want to get into, the emergency side of things after a while. They want to see more surgeries, they want to see more diagnostics, and we're able to facilitate that. We also have students who would prefer maybe a slower paced clinic, which is a little bit more quieter, or they might be in the countryside and seeing more a range of different animals. So we can accommodate that depending on, to make sure, I suppose, the training practices are available and the standards of the practice are up to scratch, and they have people there to be able to train you. When you are in placement, you'll have a person in the practice that will basically be over you or mentoring you, and that's usually kind of a senior nurse or a nurse that's been there a while and has kind of experience there, and they will be overseeing everything you do basically and kind of helping train you. So at least that's a great thing that you'll have that support available to you when you are in there. So that's a whistle stop from my point of view. I'm going to hand over to Jess here now, who is our student engagement officer, and she'll go through kind of the benefits of the degree and why you should come and study. So I'll hand over to you, Jess, if you want to take over.
Yes, of course. Thank you. So doing a degree, so often we get asked what the difference is between the diploma route and the degree route. Well, they're both equally as good as each other. You'll become a registered veterinary nurse regardless of what route you do. But when you do the degree, you're going to come away with advanced theory. So you're going to be learning really in depth about all of the conditions, how the anatomy and physiology relates to our diseases, what you're going to see when we've got a disease state, how you're going to treat that patient. You're going to get specialised opportunities within the degree that can lead to further career advancement. Like some practices are looking for degree veterinary nurses. You might want to be a head nurse in the future. You might want to go away and actually become an educator like us. You might want to specialise in exotics or equine, or into medical nursing, surgical nursing. It can help with your career progression. I'm very grateful of my degree. It's opened many areas for me, and I'm sure Kathryn would say the same thing. And also, it's about personal development, getting that increased confidence when you're in your job role, and it's about increased job satisfaction too. You're going to go really in depth. It helps you with your critical analysis skills. You'll be learning about evidence-based nursing. I've seen in the chat people are asking about research, and you will do research within this program. We'll get the opportunity to. It's just such a good opportunity for everybody, and I can't recommend it enough. So thank you all for coming today and to want to learn about it. I think that's really good. And it's about professional recognition as well. You'll have your your BSc honours degree, and that looks really good in your CV, and really good for your career progression, depending on what you want to do. Some positions ask for a degree. It was particularly if you may be wanting to go into repping or insurance or into an area that's maybe non-clinical in the future, having a degree can open those doors for you as well. But like, being a veterinary nurse is one of the best things that has ever happened to me, and I'm sure the other people with me would say the same. At this point, I'm going to invite Christina to come onto here and put her camera on. She's one of our students, and I would like her to add anything that she thinks I might have missed. Over to you, Christina.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. I mean, you've covered most of it. I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Christina, and I'm on my final year studying veterinary nursing. And what I can say is that this course has been amazing. It's been hard, but since we've revalidated the program, it will be slightly easier for you to manage. Since I did mine in 4 years, because I attended a foundation year as well. And in my opinion, whoever's like thinking to apply for foundation year, it did really help me because I didn't have much knowledge on the science bit. So it's definitely very helpful. Um, I can say a few things about placement and my experience. What do you think? Yeah.
That would be great.
So I've done 5 placements so far, various weeks, and what I can say is I think it's a very good combination attending the theory blocks and then going out on placement and being able to apply my knowledge and be able to see like the reality of how my work is going to be in the future quite soon. Scary. But yeah, I feel like since I'm a more hands-on person as well, it's helped me like develop some of my skills, and I just feel like it's very beneficial. And going back to the work experience, I did do 4 weeks at a veterinary practice. It was just, I think, after COVID or before COVID, which was a bit difficult. But I feel like it's very helpful if you can like try and find a veterinary practice because you'll actually see how it is to like work with animals and understand if you really want to like follow that kind of like path. Um, I think that's it so far.
Thank you. Thanks,
You're
Christina.
welcome.
That's perfect. So I think I'll hand back to Kathryn and we'll move on to the next section. Thank you.
Do you want to go through that, Jess, about the or I can do, that's perfect. It's just about why choosing us, I suppose. So we were lucky enough to be scored in the NSS. We were the #1 veterinary nursing degree in the UK, and we got that through the National Student Survey. So that's where students basically rate us, which is really good. So we're definitely trying to build on that the whole time and kind of withhold that you know, representing the veterinary nursing degrees across the UK and being, you know, #1 is a massive achievement for us. So we're really, really delighted with that. I suppose we were the first BSc honours degree in veterinary nursing in the UK, which is quite a big, I suppose, you know, thing to uphold. So we're really experienced, I suppose, when it comes to delivering degrees. The fact that we have revalidated our course has meant that we are delivering content that's very up to date and, you know, modern and what veterinary nurses need to know. Simple things like your leadership, your compassion fatigue, your mental health, all these things that are now really relevant to veterinary nurses that may not have really been spoken about before or even kind of brought up when it comes to the curriculum. So we have involved a lot of that into our teaching and what we look at when we're talking to veterinary nurses. We have academic advising sessions where we go through things like sustainability, AI, mental health, these things, and we bring that into our course. So we have these meetings dotted throughout the curriculum that we come and we talk to students about that. We also run a careers event that me and Jess do. So that's really important for our final year students to, I suppose, get them prepared for work, what's out in the industry, get them talking to, you know, people who can help them with CV preparation, recruitment, and getting them kind of well prepped for preparing to go out into the world of work. So we really kind of are behind the preparation of nurses going out into working in practice and making sure that they're well prepared for what's expected of them. Obviously, we're RCVS accredited. We were founded by a registered veterinary nurse, Barbara herself. So everyone that's on our team, that teaches on the team, that's part of the degree program, I suppose, is a veterinary nurse or a vet. So it's really useful for you guys, I suppose, to be able to come on board and ask us questions when it comes to working in practice or how we got into where we are now. And I suppose we can kind of lead students with experience in terms of that. So obviously it's RCVS accredited, which is the main thing that you need to be considering when becoming a veterinary nurse. You need to be a registered veterinary nurse, and also has the CSQP qualification as well. And we do have a VR. We use VR when it comes to what we teach as well. So virtual reality, we were one of the first colleges to come up with the concept of using VR when it comes to practicing for practical exams. So it really shows that we're innovative, that we're coming up with new technology to help our students learn in different ways. So when it comes to revising for your practical exams, students will have their own VR headset to be able to practice at home and also in the classroom when it comes to developing their tasks and developing their brain to hand coordination and things like that. So we're going to show you a little video on that, and hopefully it works and it doesn't kick us out.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. Yeah, so hopefully.
Welcome to the future of veterinary nurse training. Are you ready for veterinary nurse training to be taken to a new dimension? Developed by a dedicated team at the College of Animal Welfare, our new virtual reality technology is ready to change the way we think about learning. Our intention is to use the software to help trainee veterinary nurses create muscle memory when preparing for their OSCEs. We believe this will not only assist in the learning and accessibility of practical skills, but will also help to alleviate exam anxiety. So far, students can practice a range of OSCE tasks in virtual reality in a hyper-realistic virtual clinical environment. This is a first in the veterinary nurse training field, and at the College of Animal Welfare we are so excited about the potential applications of virtual reality technology, even beyond the OSCEs. Virtual reality can be used as a hugely beneficial training tool, providing a way to enhance student engagement with their study, increase their knowledge, boost creativity, and provide an avenue for active and dynamic learning. So, the only question we have left to ask is, are you ready to step into the future of veterinary nurse training and join us?
To bring to your attention, so obviously why study with us? We've discussed about the National Student Survey and how dedicated we are, and we've really thought about our programme, and it's gone through revalidation. But as it says here, just don't take our word for it, hear from our students themselves. So we've got lots and lots of testimonials from students saying how much they love the programme, they really enjoy the practical aspects, they really enjoy the theory, they like the in-depth lectures and balance with the studies, and that we're really supportive. If you've got any learning support requirements, we work with you on an individual basis to make sure that you get the support you need while you're with us. And we've got some on the screen here, but I'm going to hand over to Christina, who's one of our students, and I'm going to let her tell you all about what she loves about the programme and what maybe advice she has for anyone that's potentially coming onto the programme. So thank you, Christina, for joining us.
Hello. Based on some of the questions I can answer as well, if I remember correctly, you can go to different placement blocks. Like if you've been to a practice that you like, you can request to go back there if they have the availability. I feel like it depends on your personality. I personally went to quite a few different practices, therefore I had the opportunity to gain different insights on like different practices, because each practice has different way of like working, and you get to see some different animals. I know some veterinary practices have like some exotic species, others won't have as many. Some practices are like smaller than others. You might be at a hospital. There's various placements out there, and as I mentioned before, if you've done like your work experience somewhere and you actually like the place, or if it's where you live, you can always request that. And if it's an approved practice, the placement coordinator can do the best to just allocate you there. What I like about placements is, as I mentioned before, I like the balance. I like to be involved in things. I felt like while I was on placements, I always like every day I kept on like finding out new skills, and I get to like learn something every day, and I feel that's really valuable. And I also like the combination. I wouldn't like to be on top of a book every day, which I feel like is helpful. What else can I say about placement? I saw someone ask the question if they have probably like a full-time job, like working 4 times a week a day, if they will be able to go on this course. It's quite hard to manage, I'd say, a full-time job with the course. I know many students did have a part-time job and they did manage that better. And I know some of my friends actually, when they were on placement, they used to do 4 long days and have like a day off and the weekend. So it really does depend how you want to do it, but you don't want to overwork yourself. What else? Also, since I'm on my last year, this last block was actually very helpful in like preparing for like OSCEs, which you would have on your final year. And it just like gave me reassurance that yeah, I've been doing all these tasks for the past 3 to 4 years, so I felt like more confident in doing so.
What's your favourite part about the course, Christina, in terms of the theory as well as the placement side?
I feel like something that can be combined both theory-wise and placement-wise is how good is the feedback acted on. I've noticed that whenever we provide feedback, if something that's really we desire or we don't, you act upon it, and I feel that's really important because we feel that we are heard. And as students, I feel that's really good. About the theory lessons, what I enjoy is the different learning styles that you have, because I know each individual has a different way of learning something, and I feel like the lecturers have really approached that well. Also about the placement, what I like is we do get placement visits to ensure that everything's going well at placement, or if we've got any questions or any concerns, that you're there to like help us. And the placement coordinator team is amazing. My last 2 blocks were like so close to where I live. I literally traveled half an hour, which I feel like it was really beneficial, especially being on my last year, having to juggle a dissertation and all of that. But yeah, I feel like it's a really positive course.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming to share your views. And Christina will be at the end for any particular student-related questions we might have. So now is your chance. If you want to know what it's like to be a student vet nurse, please send Christina a question into the chat. Also, just a little thing. I think we lost a few of our questions. So if anyone's not had their question answered yet, can you put it back into the Q&A box for me? Thank you so much. And I'll hand back to Kathryn.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, guys, if you could pop them back in the Q&A, that would be brilliant. This is just a quick QR code for you to scan, and it'll bring you to the UCAS website. So if any of you haven't applied, then you can do so there. Just a quick way of doing it. So I can leave that on the screen once I come back just to the last few slides. So current fees wise, so for UK students, 9,250, and for EU and international students, 16,600. So included in your fees is free access to all the resources, your learning material, and your software you need to succeed on the course. You have free laptop loans for up to 24 hours from the library in Middlesex, free printing for academic paperwork, free online training with LinkedIn Learning and a huge range of other student services. So the student services that Middlesex provide is quite extensive, from your, your gym, your GP, your mental health services, your student unions on campus. So there's a lot going on there. So there is a lot to offer to students on the campuses. You get free books as well, online digital books that you will still have access to after you finish the course as well. And those books usually cost quite a lot if you were to buy them once you qualify. So very useful to have them once you finish as well. Now we're to our last slide. So any questions? We'll go to the Q&A and we can just see who we can assign questions to. So let me just have a look at the chat, because I know there was one or two put in here. So do free bus passes and transport get included? No. So within the Hendon campus, you will have a bus that brings you from the campus to StoneX. Christina, you might know more about that as regards transport.
Yeah, regarding transport, I don't know if your question was regarding placement, but you have to cover your own cost. But yeah, about the StoneX, they do have frequent buses that go to StoneX and come back, which is quite helpful. But even if you don't get the bus, you can walk. It's like a 20-minute walk from the Hendon campus to StoneX, which is quite a nice walk, to be fair.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Christina. Libby, I did my college work experience in a vets and built a really good relationship with them. Would it be possible to live at home and do placement? Yeah, so if there's a place that you really want to go to with regards to practice that you really liked and you've been there before, it would mean that our team would need to call to them and kind of, I suppose, go through some assessment with them to make sure their standards are up to scratch with us as regards that. So, a relationship could be built between us and them if the placement was suitable for training. Obviously, they need to have the staff, they need to have the equipment, and to be able to provide training for you. So definitely it's something that you could consider and talk to the placement team about, and give them the address of where you are and where you'd like to go. Is there accommodation? Oh yeah, sorry,
I've just got the question and answer box. So there's a couple more in the chat, and then if you just come to me so I can do the ones
yeah.
Perfect.
There was just one you might know actually, Jess, about the Leeds campus open day. I'm not sure, can you get the date of that up? Is there any accommodation linked to the Leeds campus or locally? So there's no accommodation, but Leeds, Jess is actually living in Leeds, so you know more about Leeds than I do, Jess, but the location of the campus is quite good, isn't it?
It is. There's lots of student accommodation in Leeds, and they've got really good public transport links for anyone that doesn't drive. I don't drive, and I go to the centre a lot, and it's just a bus from the city centre. Doesn't take very long, and the bus stops right next to the centre, and it's like less than a 5-minute walk up to there. The Leeds Centre is great. It's right next to the White Rose Centre, which is a shopping centre. So if you want to go to a cafe or a restaurant at lunchtime, or get some food, or hang out with your friends, it's got a really lots and lots of services there, like the cinema, crazy golf, and a few other bits and pieces right next to the centre. In terms of accommodation, you just need to have a look at student accommodation that's around Leeds. There's lots and lots of it, and you shouldn't struggle to get accommodation. And then in terms of the open event, that's this week, so that's on Thursday, so please join us. It's on our website. I think Alison can put the link into there so that they know how to book on. But if anyone wants to come and have a look around the Leeds Centre, now's your chance on Thursday for an event to come to that. We go through the course, we have a PowerPoint, we go through sort of everything, and then you get a chance to look around the classrooms, the clinical area, and yeah, we also do a bit of demonstration as well. So it'd be lovely if you wanted to come in and see us, that'd be fantastic. Thank you for Alison for putting that into the chat for us. I think we've got, is there car parking for 24 hours? Yes, I think there is car parking. I'm not sure for 24 hours because the gate gets shut at night. So when everyone leaves, we shut the gate, but we could have an individual conversation about that once you come to the college. But I know that it does shut at a certain time and is closed. We do have a behaviour centre on site at the Leeds Centre, and it does shut a bit later than when core closes, but we just need to check what the time of it would close for you, and I don't have that information at the moment, but I can look into it for you. So I'll start now within the Q&A box.
There was
thing.
just one more just there on who do I contact for accommodation for Huntington. So we can put in the it'll be on the call website. I can put in the email address for them as well if you want to do that, but you wouldn't really be looking into that, I suppose, until your offer gets sent out. So they would be able to liaise with you with regards to Huntington and what's available there, you know, at the beginning of summer. But I'll pop it into the chat here anyway, so at least you'll have it.
Perfect. So Kathryn, I think this one's for you. So as an international student with borderline grades with a vet nursing diploma and a 2-2 degree from an unrelated field, please can she ask how strict the minimum grades are? Will extenuating circumstances be considered? Will I be able to use my work experience to strengthen my application? And they'd be grateful for advice.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You have a lot of experience. So what I would do is apply anyway, send in your paperwork if you can into the admissions office at Middlesex. So send in your qualifications, what you have done already. And then we have an international lady who does all the international qualifications. So she'll look at basically what the equivalent is in the UK, and then we'll go from there. But usually we take into consideration, depending on your age, we take into consideration your work experience and previous qualifications as well. So if you apply and just send in your paperwork, that would be brilliant. And then at least then we can go from there and do the interview and have a look at the qualifications then that you already have. Yeah.
The next question is asking how it works with clinical coaching, but I think to answer this question, we need a little bit more information about how what you mean by that. So if you could just write me a little bit more, and then we can answer your question. And then how much work experience do I need for foundation year? I have got a conditional offer, well done, and I've just done a week worth of experience in a vet practice. Would I need to try and get more to be allowed onto the course? Over to you, Kathryn.
Yeah, so you need 2 weeks of work experience for the foundation and for the degree. So if you can get another week with them, brilliant. Or if you can get another week somewhere else or a couple of days somewhere else, that would be great as well. And just get a reference from them. Yeah.
And then I've got a comment that as a question mark around Scotland. I think I saw this comment earlier, and it was asking about the programme in Scotland. And we have 3 campuses. So we've got Leeds, Hendon and Huntingdon. Huntingdon has the foundation degree and the BSc honours degree. Leeds, it just has not the foundation, the BSc honours degree, and Hendon has the BSc honours degree. I don't believe there's a centre in Scotland, I'm afraid. So I've just clarify that because I think that's what you meant, but I just want to check if you just put another question in if I haven't answered that fully. Thank you. And then we've got, can we choose our own practice replacement? I think Christina sort of answered this a minute ago, but I'll hand over to Kathryn for that one, just to give a bit more information.
Yeah, so our placement team we have a list of placements that we work with all the time, but if there is a placement that you've been in before that we don't have on our list, it would just mean that we need to go through a couple of processes with our placement team and kind of schedule visits to make sure that it is a clinic or a practice that we can use for our students. So it does just come down to you know, the practice standards and things like that, but certainly you can talk to the practice team who are placing you in practices. As Christina said, she's gone back to different practices that she's done and moved around a little bit, but they were all practices, I suppose, within our list of practices that we use. But certainly if there is a place that you'd like to try that you've been before, just approach it with our placement team and they can talk to you about it.
Perfect. Thank you. So Millie has done work experience at a boarding kennel last year and has got a written email reference from them, but they can't get back in contact for a letter format with a signature, and she's asking what she should do about this, and she put a smiley face and thank you.
So if they have, I'm not sure, do they have like a headed email that they've sent you or who's it from? You could always take a screenshot of the email they've sent you and you can send it in to us and we can review it. Usually we do require like headed paper signed by the owner, the practice manager, or someone in charge of the place that you've got your work experience in. But just send in whatever you have done and whatever you have there and we can review it. And if there's an issue, they'll contact you and ask for maybe another format, or if there's anything else that they need to clarify from you.
Perfect. And we've got there's I haven't got this person's name, but they've got a conditional offer, congrats, and they were told to send references to court admin for review. Should they upload this to the paperwork too? I haven't seen a link for it yet.
So it depends on when you did your interview, but usually an email will go out to you a couple of days after doing your interview, and that'll be from Middlesex, and there'll be a link within that. So whatever you have that you think would help your application, send it in. So if you've got your work experience, if you've got paperwork, just send it in via that way through that link if you can.
Perfect. And another person has mentioned that T levels weren't mentioned in the entry requirement slide. Just wondering if this qualification is accepted by Middlesex University. Also, are there any subject-specific requirements for students picking the A-level route?
T levels is something that we don't come across that much of, but we do have it in our list of entry requirements on our other paperwork. We didn't put it into this slide because it's just not common that students use it, but yeah, certainly. And then there's information here on the grading entry requirements if you are going through A levels and picking A levels and what we need. So your UCAS points here and your A levels with a C in science. So I'll leave that slide up if you want to have a look at that there.
Perfect. And this one's for me. So is there any sort of postgraduate career advice for progression, such as specialisation? I'm really interested in exotics. Excellent. So am I. I love exotic animal nursing. So there's a couple of things that you can do. So for example, in this degree, we have our optional modules. And one of those at the moment is exotics, exotic animal nursing. So you'd be able to learn lots about all the different species, their requirements, their anatomy and physiology, their specific medical and surgical requirements like fluid therapy, how to take blood, how to place catheters, how to do anesthesia on these patients, because each species is very different. Birds, for example, are amazing to nurse, but they've got a very complicated anatomy and physiology system, which means we've got to do lots of things for them. For example, their bones are pneumatic. You can't place catheters in certain places because we can cause quite significant concerns. So you can learn all about that in the optional module, but once you've graduated, you can do certificates, so you can really specialise. So for example, I did the Gerlin and Fraser exotic animal nursing certificate. I learned about wildlife, rabbits, small furries, badgers, foxes, hedgehogs, all of those kinds of things. It was really fun. Birds and some zoo animals actually. And now they've got their advanced program, so you can do it module by module and do the species you're super interested in. Like if you really like rabbits, you can do the rabbit one. If you're really into wildlife, you can do the wildlife. If you love your reptiles like bearded dragons, snakes, etc., you can do that one. And some master's programs do have that embedded in now. It depends what you're after. There's lots out there. We do go through these things at the careers event, and you can talk to your academic advisor who can give even more advice once you qualify. But I'm really glad to know that you're already thinking about that. That's amazing. And I'm really excited for you. You're going to love it. I love exotics. They're really fun. So I hope that's answered that for you. Thank you very much. If I didn't do a science at A level, would the foundation year be required? So I'll hand that back to Kathryn.
It would do, yeah. So foundation year would be something you should consider if you've applied for the degree and it gets rejected. Usually you're offered the foundation year automatically. If you've applied for the foundation year anyway, yeah, you'll have to go that route before you get onto the degree then if you don't have a science.
Perfect, thank you. How can they look into talking one-on-one with someone? So we've got a couple of people you can have a one-to-one chat with. So you've got Kathryn, who's our Deputy Programme Manager, or Claire, who's our Programme Manager. Alison, if you could put maybe their emails into the chat, would that be okay, Kathryn? And then you can contact them with your specific questions, or you can have a catch-up. Thank you for asking. It'd be lovely to chat to you. And then we've got Millie going into the animal management level 3. Is there any specific module that I have to get a certain grade in, like a distinction in biology, or is it just DMM, DDM overall?
Just DMM, DDM overall, yeah. So just for the level 3s, that's all we need.
And what is the minimum requirement of campus time for someone who lives a long way away? Is it possible to do a lot in practice and working from home?
No, sorry. Sorry, Beth. So no, you would need to be, I suppose, in a relatively decent distance from the campus from where you're studying. So because we're governed by the RCVS, which is the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, we obviously have to go by what they tell us to do as well as what Middlesex tell us to do. So they are quite, I suppose we look at engagement, we look at attendance. So you need to be attending your modules, 75% you need to be attending and engaging with your modules. So it's really important that I suppose you're living somewhere that you can easily get to uni, get to the campus, and then obviously then when you go out into placement, or placement team will look at where you're actually living, to see then where they can put you in for practice. Because I suppose when you think about it, you know, if you're commuting to work and it might take you an hour, and then you're working a full day, and then you're taking an hour to get home, or the same with uni, and then that's not really taking into consideration when you have to study, do exams, all that kind of thing. You want to be able to, you know, have some life outside of university as well. It's really important that you're thinking about the location. So that's why I would always tell people, go to the open days, because you could do the journey on the open day to see how long it will take you, how far it takes. So yeah, it's just something that everyone should consider, is the fact that engagement and attendance is really important when it comes to veterinary nursing, because it is a professional program. So yeah, we would be looking at that and kind of meeting with students who are maybe struggling with attendance if needed as well. So definitely try and look into that a little bit more, and maybe do some research around accommodation closer to the campus.
Perfect, thank you. So how does a student that wants to stay and study in Guernsey go on?
I suppose you have to be near the campus, really. This isn't a distance-based program, it's a degree program that is face-to-face. So we don't do online, we don't do the option of online lectures where you can attend from home and do distance learning. If it is a fact, I suppose, that you want to stay where you're living and you want to go down the vet nursing route, then maybe diploma might be an option for you. But certainly with the degree, because of the academic level it is, you need to be there face to face for classes.
Perfect, thank you. So will there be an open day for the Hendon campus? I'm just looking those dates up for you.
There's
So
one this
there is,
Saturday, I know, because I'm
yeah.
actually at there, sorry.
Christina's there.
Yeah.
So I have the 26th of April at Hendon, and Saturday the 14th of June, and is the two next ones, and also the 29th of March.
Great. Yeah, so
So thank
definitely
you.
try and come along to them, because you'll get to meet the likes of Christina, you'll get to meet the tutors that are there, they'll have the rooms set up of how it would look like when you're doing practicals, for instance. So yeah, definitely recommend going for an open day there.
And then we've got a question about, if we know a lecturer and want to be taught by them, how does that work? So I think all lecturers assigned to modules and their specialism, I think that that would be fine, but there might be needs a conflict of interest to fill out for assessments or practical exams, which is the same for OSCE assessments. But you can't choose a specific lecturer to teach your module, as we're all allocated a particular module for strengths and specialisms as well. So I hope that answers your question. What hours are the uni days roughly?
Well, currently at the moment, the first years are in 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 3 days a week. So the new curriculum, the way it's laid out, is I suppose it's giving people more of a work-life balance. You have 2 days off to either work, do your uni work, do module work, whatever you want to do. And also then we're giving the leeway of coming in at 10. So at least then people are kind of missing the traffic and things like that. So we've tried to make it as accessible as possible for people.
Perfect. And then work experience references have to be emailed to a certain person. I think that's Sue Merlo, is that correct?
Work experience, usually you would upload it. So when you do your interview, you'll get the email with the link in it. So it's your portal basically, so you can upload it there. If you have issues with uploading anything, you can get onto the admissions team then in Middlesex for that. But yeah, try and upload it if you can to that link.
And we're asking if there's a research option. So there is a dissertation module, and you'll be allocated a supervisor, but there's not just a whole research degree. It's a particular module. We go through evidence-based nursing. We tell you how to do a dissertation. You get to do lots of bits and pieces, and really sort of ask your own question and your area of interest you get to do. which is really good. So, for example, you could do rabbit pain or rabbit pain behaviours. It's usually an area where we've got a lack of knowledge that you might want to investigate, but it's all about explaining why we do something. So what's the best care for our patient? And sometimes the best way to do that is to do a research question, do research into that area, and we can prove one way or the other what the best care for our patient is. Obviously, we've got to get ethical approval. Everything has to be about animal welfare, but it's really exciting to do that. It might maybe seem a little bit scary to start with, but it's super worthwhile, and a lot of our students are really, excited to do that and get stuck in and, showcase their area of interest, and even might want to get published in one of our professional journals at the end of it. So it's really good, and thank you for asking that question, Charlie. That was great. And in terms of clinical coaching, so she works at a practice at the moment, and we only have a couple of full-time nurses. And I know that clinical coaching can take a lot of time. So does a nurse have to agree to it, or is it set by the college? So in practice, the clinical supervisors or clinical coaches, they do training with CORE, and they take students and look after our students and are allocated time with that student within practice. They are the veterinary practice, has to be a training practice with the RCVS, and that clinical supervisor has to have done training to be able to be your clinical coach, to do your nursing progress log, which is where all the skills are, and sign you off when you're competent at skills. So the clinical coach will have agreed to be the clinical coach in the practice, and will be happy to take on students as required by that. But if they're not a clinical coach, they wouldn't be able to take students or do the nursing progress log. They have to be a clinical coach. Thank you. And I have applied for the veterinary nursing and hold my leaving certificate examinations and have a foundation degree in equine management. A lady emailed saying I need to apply for a statement of comparability for my leaving certificate in order to proceed, which will cost £50. Is that correct? I'll hand that to Kathryn. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, to be honest. I presume leaving certificate, you're based in Ireland. So the best thing to do is I'll give you, if you want to email me your query, and then I'll forward it on to the admissions tomorrow just to make sure. Sometimes there is a certificate where we need to look at the comparison of both and see what the qualification equates to. But I'll put my email address in and you can email me, and then I'll be able to answer it for you, and I'll have your details if you want to do that.
Perfect, thank you. And then we've got, can you work as an employee with a salary while doing it as placement at the same time?
No, usually you'll be as part of the placement, as part of the program, you'll be on placement. But if you're doing additional placement, so if you finish your weeks before the deadline, we'll say, and you want to do more, you can get paid with them. That'll be an arrangement between the practice though and yourself. It won't be anything to do with the college. So if it's if you're currently in practice, you'll have to obviously bring down your hours anyway if you're going to be doing, your theory and your placement and things like that. But it would be an agreement between you and them if you can do extra hours and additional placement at weekends and things like that. It wouldn't be it wouldn't become under our jurisdiction, if that makes sense.
Perfect, thank you. And can students do work placements overseas?
We've had this issue before where somebody's trying to do work placement, but the issue with that is because the standard of practice in other places is not necessarily the same as what the UK is. I know some students have gone abroad when they've had their hours done, so they've got their weeks and hours done and they still have time left, and then they'll go abroad and get more work experience, or they'll volunteer, etc., etc. But to make sure that we're supporting you as well as we can, and we're visiting you in practice and your practice is up to standard here, it would be a UK practice.
Perfect, thank you. And is there a module, I think they mean farm animals.
Oh yeah, probably on farm animals. Yeah, there's not. No, it's all small it's all small animal veterinary nursing. There was some equine modules. I think the next question actually is there any equine modules or opportunities to specialize in this? There was before, but not anymore. It was an elective, but not equine anymore now. So no farm animals or equine, I'm afraid.
And then we've got what campus is the best? So I'll answer that bit. I think it depends on what area you're in. All of our campuses are excellent. We've got excellent, really specialised staff, but it depends what experience you're after. So the main campus, which Christina's from, she can jump in a minute and give you an overview of the campus. That is the Middlesex's main campus. It's got really good facilities, really good student experience, lots of different areas. You'll be with a variety of different students doing different programs. Maybe the vet nursing is part of the nursing section of the university, so you'd be meeting nursing midwifery students, as well as all the other programs that they have at Middlesex. And you'd be living on campus. You've got London right next door. I'm in the heart of London, really, and it'd be a pretty amazing student experience. I did my uni at London, and I love being in the centre of everything. It was fantastic, I have to say. But if you're not really wanting to be in London or away from home, then being at the Leeds or the Huntingdon campus, if that's near to you, might be more your thing. It really does depend on whether what kind of experience you're after. Some students would rather be in a smaller place near home, where they don't have to live in accommodation. They can, stay at home and then just travel to the centre and then back. Some students want to live in accommodation and be independent, get really stuck into student life. So it really does depend what you're after. But each centre's really good. It's got its own personality and own characteristics. So it kind of really depends. So we can have an individual sort of conversation when you apply and you have your interview about that if you want to. So I hope that sort of answers your question, but anything more detailed, maybe be really good to have like a one-to-one or something like that. Thank you. And then if I need the foundation year, but I've applied for the Hendon campus, what should I do? I have enough UCAS points to get in, but just not a science A-level. I couldn't find anything on the application website referring to a science A-level being a necessary entry requirement.
Yeah, so if you've applied for the degree and you don't get the degree, you'll be offered the foundation year usually anyway. The requirement for A-levels is on our website. I'll pop it in the chat, and it's saying A-level that you need to have a BBC, BBB, including a C in science. So science is a requirement because it is a veterinary nursing degree. So I'm not sure if you've had your interview already or not. If you've had your interview, just let me know if you want to pop in the chat, or you can use my email if you want to email me, but usually you'll be offered the foundation year as a backup if you don't get the degree.
Perfect, thank you. So we have the
the international
one, which
so
email?
Yeah, I'm not sure, has this student already applied for an interview? If you haven't applied for an interview, then apply for one. So register your interest on the website, and they'll give you information then on how to book your interview. If you have done your interview and you're looking to send in information after that, it'll be to the admissions team in Middlesex. So just let me know which one is which you need.
And then what date does the academic year start and then end?
Well, it'll be usually mid-September. It's hard to say when it will end because we have 3 semesters now, including your placement. So it depends on the course it depends on where you are on the course as to when the semester ends, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, usually mid-September to the 3rd week of September is our welcome week, basically, of when you start.
Perfect. So I'll just hand over to Christina quickly to give an overview of StoneX and the London campus and Hendon.
So I started with my foundation degree, which was at Huntingdon. It was a more quiet area, smaller area in general. And then I just applied for transfer for my first year to be in Hendon, which I really enjoyed the campus because, as Jess mentioned, you have all the facilities. They've got an amazing library there, which I visit quite often, with so many books being able to access. And you just right in London, based in North London, and is not that far away from the centre. Regarding StoneX is the building that you'll be doing some of your lectures and practical sessions. It's a really nice modern building, and they also have a team there. What's the name of the team? I can't remember. Anyway, there's a rugby team because they've got a rugby field there. But it's really nice because we've got our own like department, so our own little room with all the equipment that we use for practical sessions. But no, yeah, I really like StoneX. It's a really nice building.
Thank you. So that's great, and really gives a really good insight. So once this degree is completed, are you automatically a registered veterinary nurse? That's correct. When you graduate, you declare that you'll make animal welfare your first priority during the ceremony, which Christina's going to be doing, very soon. And we celebrate with you at graduation. And then yes, you'll be go on to the register and you'll be a qualified nurse. So how many places roughly get accepted in Hendon for first year, and do you find out if you get the offer straight away?
Hendon is our biggest cohort, so it's hard to say and put a figure on exactly how many students we take on. It depends on the year itself. I'm not sure, Christina, how many students you had in your class. I mean, we could accept up to 50 students in Hendon, but by the end of your third year, I'm not sure what your cohort, what your size was.
On my third year right now, how many people we
Yeah.
are? I think it's around 30 odd, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
usually
Something
for
like that.
first years we accept around 50 people. It just
Yeah.
depends on the year, so there's not a straight figure with that. Was there something else added on to that question? I can't remember.
Oh, uh,
Let me just look at answered. Sorry. Duh, duh, duh. Oh no, I can't find it. Sorry, if there was another question. Oh yeah,
There
sorry.
was,
And
yeah,
do you
yeah.
find out if you get the offer straight away? Yeah. So you'd after your interview, you would be sent a conditional offer, which basically means like you have a place on our degree if you meet our criteria, which is the entry requirements and your references sent in. When the UCAS results all come out is usually then when the offers get sent out as permanent offers. So once you've sent in your reference and once you meet our criteria, then your permanent offer then will be sent out to you.
perfect. And then what should I do if I can't afford the degree accommodation because I don't live local?
So usually people would make contact with the finance team within Middlesex and also student finance in the UK and discuss their options with them there. There is some bursaries available to students that are coming on board for their first year. Now, those bursaries wouldn't be thousands, but there would be a help when it comes to starting out and maybe buying a laptop and getting set up. So there is some options there, but usually students would go through student finance and they would talk to them about what their options are, how much money they can get, how do they make repayments, etc. So it would be between yourself and the finance team in Middlesex and also looking up the UK's student finance options as well to you. So it might just take a little bit of research for you just to see what options are out there. But, for a lot of students coming on to a degree in the UK, they have to go through student finance. So it is something just to maybe have a look at and see what's available for you personally.
Perfect, thank you. So I think that's all of our questions. I'm just going to check the chat. I think we've answered everything.
Yeah, I've put in my email address into the chat there, guys. If anyone has any questions as regards your coming on board with the interviews or your international requirements and things like that, you can email me and I can follow up on that for you.
Perfect. Well, thank you ever so much for joining us for our open event. It's
Yeah.
great to have you. Thank you for bearing with us with the technical difficulties and for coming back and for
We just
asking
have
all your
one
questions.
question that just came in there, Jess. Sorry, I just
Oh,
saw it there. How
thank
much
you.
of this course is exam and coursework based? So we do a variety. So we do assessments throughout the year. You'll have a mix of different types of assessments, whether they're presentations, assignments, exams, practical exams, online work. So it really just depends. It's not just one exam at the end of the year and that's it. It's continuous assessments, you know, at different times throughout the year as well. You'll be doing your practical exams and that's preparing you then for your OSCEs at the very end. So it's a bit of a mixed, I suppose, different kind of type of assessments is what we do throughout the time. Plus our VR, like what we said as well, that, you know, we're using different types of innovative ways to do our assessments as well. So it's not just a written exam. Do you get a letter at the end of the name once you
Yes.
qualify? Yes, yeah. Registered veterinary nurse or VN postnominals is what you get after you qualify, once you sign the register.
And then if you do any extra certificates, you also get that after your name too.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was a question on the chat saying if we have an animal unit, if so, what animals do we have there? But unfortunately, we don't have an animal unit. It will be unethical if we had animals. So we usually practice on stuffed animals like dogs, rabbits, and cats.
Yeah, brilliant. And also, I suppose when you're in practice as well, you'll be getting enough hands-on experience there. So yeah, it's just simulations we do really when we're in the classroom.
And then I think I've just noticed another one. And then we have a welcome week when you start with us, where we go through all of the facilities, what to expect, what is required from you, how to use the MyMDX, which is where you find all your module resources. We go through library services. We go through wellbeing support options and a lot of other things during Welcome Week. We always do one. So that's your sort of induction into the programme. But you get an academic advisor. If you're struggling, you can ask them a question at any time and they will get back to you and answer your query. And you do get a really good induction into the programme. And you'll meet me as well. I come and see you too.
There was just one more relating to the open days with applying to do foundation. I'm wanting to attend the Leeds campus anyway, but I've been told foundation first year I'm going to Huntington. Should I apply for the 2 open days, one at Leeds and the other at Huntington? It really depends on what you'd like to do. I mean, I think if you're being offered foundation anyway, I would definitely be going to Huntington to view that. You can go to Leeds and see the, you know, the facilities there and things like that. But if you've got your offer for a foundation and that's where you think you'll be going, then I think Huntington should be a priority. But definitely no harm to view Leeds if you know potentially that you might get the degree anyway with a permanent offer. So yeah, it's definitely up to you. Is that it, I think? Okay, perfect. I think that's all the questions, guys. As I say, if you have any more questions, you can ring the College of Animal Welfare. They're very good to answer the phone, to answer any queries that you might have. Go through the admissions office with Middlesex if you have anything to do with your actual application or interview for the course. And then obviously sign up to the open days if you haven't got to go to any of them yet. I definitely would sign up to them because you can ask the tutors and talk to them as well about the course. So thank you to everyone for coming this evening. Hopefully you found it a bit informative and gave you more of an overview than we would have been able to go through in an interview. So, and nice that you got to meet myself and Jess, and also Christina. Big massive thanks to Christina for coming along, taking time out of her busy schedule. As a student, it's important for you guys to be able to kind of hear from a student's point of view as well. So massive thanks to you, Christina. So thank you, everybody. And hopefully we'll be seeing all of you in September. And yeah, if you have any further questions, as I say, College of Animal Welfare or the Middlesex admissions team will be able to answer it as well.